All right, guys, so we got to talk about a hilarious viral clip that exposes MSNBC news host Miss Nicole Wallace for all the lies that she's told over the years, okay? And this is hilarious for a couple reasons, right? One, because the mainstream liberal media always claims that they're objective, right? And they only give facts and truth, right? And everybody in right-wing news circle, like, you know, Fox News or OAN or Newsmax and other conservative commentators, or really even commentators they don't like independent commentators like Joe Rogan, yeah, they're just disinformation, right? But the truth of the matter is that the mainstream liberal media, in my opinion, is responsible for a vast majority of the so-called mis/disinformation in this country, right? And that is why I love this clip, because it really does expose one of the mainstream liberal news host darlings for the liar that she actually is, okay? And one of the other reasons why I love this as well too is that she's been exposed by a liberal, right? Mr. Glenn Greenwald, who I believe is a liberal/progressive, not woke journalist. Again, he's one of these guys that have been kind of disaffected by the left, okay, as they pushed him away because he's not woke, right? He doesn't go along with some of the extremism that is taking over the left, right? So he's not in the good graces of the progressive left anymore. Kind of like in the same mode as Jimmy Dore, right? Who is clearly progressive, but again, he's not woke, right? And he doesn't like some of the extremism that's going on in the Democrat Party socially. And that is why you have people like Sink Yogurt and Anna Kasparian on TYT calling him a conservative, even though the guy clearly is a far leftist economically, right? But yeah, with that being said, he came out with this awesome mini trailer that really does expose the lies of the mainstream liberal media, as he claims that nobody spreads it more than the quote Typhoid Mary of Disinformation. Now, when he said that nobody spreads it more, right? I thought he was talking about Kamala Harris, right? When he first said that. That is a hilarious line, to be quite honest with you. But let's actually read about this, and then we're going to watch this hilarious trailer. Independent journalist Glenn Greenwald teased a coming mini documentary limited to his subscribers on Thursday, sharing a trailer that called MSNBC host Nicole Wallace, quote, the Typhoid Mary of Disinformation. From her days as a professional liar for the Bush/Cheney White House and campaign, now as a beloved by liberals MSNBC host, Nicole D. Wallace has for 2 decades been the Typhoid Mary of Disinformation. Nobody spreads it more. Greenwald tweeted along with a video clip. Now, let's actually go ahead and get into this video for you guys, because it is absolutely hilarious. Take a look.
You don't have a president talking about exterminating Latinos.
100% pants on fire.
The Havana syndrome.
Headaches and a loud noise.
Clearly acts of aggression, acts of war.
Scientists say the sounds were crickets.
The Havana syndrome. Our enemies might be weaponizing technology, beaming something to hurt people's brains.
The claims are scientifically implausible.
Donald Trump to now investigate a conspiracy theory about COVID coming from a lab in Wuhan.
This theory needs to be investigated, which is what President Biden is doing.
Hunter Biden's laptop reveals emails.
We shouldn't look at it as anything other than a Russian disinformation operation.
The Hunter Biden laptop material is genuine.
The murder of a police officer, Officer Brian Sicknick, was killed in the line of duty. They beat a Capitol police officer to death.
Officer Sicknick died of natural causes.
The Steele dossier. It may be dirty, but it ain't fake.
Obviously, the Steele dossier is discredited by far, actually.
I mean, this is the lunatic response to what is a very rational, evidence-based, fact-based investigation.
FBI pleads guilty to doctoring email.
What the report shows is something that won't be surprising to people that have spent a lot of time in the federal government.
The report left former officials aghast.
The FBI is exonerated today.
It doesn't vindicate anyone at the FBI who touched this.
They are all absolved of any wrongdoing.
The activities we found here don't vindicate anybody.
The Trump administration cleared peaceful Black Lives Matter protesters so the president could take a photo in front of a church.
We did not find evidence that federal agents used CS gas. The D.C. police used the CS gas.
Protesters were gassed to clear the way for Trump's photo op.
Demonstrators were pushed out to allow contractors to build a fence, a response to damage done during the 2 previous nights of rioting.
Russians offered a bounty for the killing of U.S. soldiers.
U.S. intel walks back claim Russians put bounties on American troops.
This mountain of evidence that we now have of bounties that Russia paid.
The Biden White House acknowledged there was little evidence.
January 6th committee's investigation into a 7-hour, 37-minute gap, possible cover-up in the records of calls, and it is no coincidence.
The call logs are complete with no missing pages. The gap is explained by use of White House landlines and cell phones.
These are the facts. Let that sink in.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Again, these are the people who think that they should be the arbiters of truth in this country, okay? MSNBC, they believe they have all the facts, right? They have objective news analysis when they're clearly a propaganda outlet. Now, I'm not necessarily sure if I agree that nobody spreads it more than Nicole Wallace, right? Because obviously, if you take another meaning of that term, I would argue that probably Kamala is up there. But if the meaning of that term is what I think it means, right, which is nobody spreads more disinformation than her, I would have to challenge him, right? I would have to say that Joy Reid is up there, right? Joy Reid has to be up there, and I would love to see a compilation like this with Joy Reid, right? That needs to be the next mainstream liberal host that Glenn Greenwald exposes, okay? Because that was great. That was awesome. So let's read a little bit more here. Greenwald went on to note that Wallace was far from the only one to graduate from George W. Bush's White House to a lucrative career in media and journalism. And he argued that their apparent willingness to lie when it benefited the political establishment might be the reason behind that. Quote, that is because serial deceit is not a liability for a thriving career in corporate journalism, but a vital asset, provided the lies are in service of ruling class policies, he said. Facts. Facts. Okay, this is why, all these people in the mainstream liberal media are for the war in Ukraine, right? They're totally fine with us sending $40 billion over there, okay, because that's what the establishment wants, right? So they're going to push it. They're going to push it. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. Greenwald pointed out a number of the more famous Bush-Cheney alumni, noting where they had landed after leaving the White House. Former Bush White House speechwriter Dave Frum of The Atlantic to CNN, Bush-Cheney CIA and NSA Director General Michael Hayden of CNN, ubiquitous immoral neocon warmonger Bill Kristol of MSNBC, and various Never Trump groups. Al-Qaeda / Saddam conspiracy theorist Jeffrey Goldberg, now editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, the various scumbags, con artists, predator protectors, and fraudsters of the Lincoln Project, drowning in hashtag resistance cash and freaking MSNBC appearances. This dude is roasting. He is roasting. Pro-war Florida GOP Congressman Joe Scarborough, now a multi-million-dollar host of MSNBC's flagship morning show and anchor of its corporate brand, and Representative Liz Cheney, longtime vocal supporter of her father and now a literal hero to American media liberals. Bro, this is great. This is absolutely amazing. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious, right? He is roasting these guys, okay? He's roasting. Ain't it funny, guys, how all these people used to be Republicans or work for Republican administrations, and now all of a sudden, particularly when Trump came around, when it was cool to switch sides, they go work for the mainstream liberal media, not just work for the mainstream liberal media, like maybe a company like CNN, right? That once in the past could credibly claim to be unbiased and neutral. Not anymore, right? After the Trump era, they became definitely an arm of the Democrat Party. But MSNBC is literally the de facto corporate media arm / mouthpiece of the Democrat Party. And that is the company that a lot of these former Republicans are going and working for, okay? It's kind of crazy. But Wallace Greenwald argued, outdid them all. She repositioned herself as a liberal in 2010 and landed a spot on ABC's The View in 2014. She then moved to NBC, landing an afternoon show on MSNBC, on which she often hosted Never Trump Republicans, aka establishment Republicans, because she would never bring non-establishment Republicans up there, okay? That's what Never Trumpers are. Never Trump Republicans are establishment Republicans, right? That's what they are. Okay, and the establishment, they love each other. Okay, that's why Democrat parties love so-called Never Trumpers. Okay, because they're all on the same team. Quote, but lurking beneath her perky smile, multi-million-dollar media contracts, gushing liberal fan base, and a long list of media admirers is something extremely dark and promiscuous. In a swamp of professional liars and sleaze merchants, Nicole Wallace has distinguished herself easily as one of the most seamless and casual liars in the world of Washington politics and media. Greenwald continue adding, she was the vintage conservative who liberals could love, a smiling, sophisticated, someone willing to betray her GOP employers to impress liberal journalists, an amicable young woman touting degrees from the types of schools that impress coastal media elites, and it was virtually inevitable that she would thrive within media corporations that need women who can credibly claim to be conservatives yet appeal to liberal sensibilities and flatter liberal audiences. Okay, yeah. So, that, again, is absolutely hilarious, right? And I agree with this dude 100%. Again, it is a phenomenon that we have seen in the media and how, you know, the established Republicans and the Democrat Party, again, appear to be cozy with one another, right? You know, even though they go on TV and they act like they don't like each other, they really are best friends behind closed doors. I mean, look at Michelle Obama's and George W. Bush's relationship, okay? Now, that's not to say that, you know, political opponents should hate each other per se. I'm not saying they should hate each other, but man, I mean, the stuff they go and they tell us out in public, it's a lot different than what they do behind closed doors. And it's amazing to me how they can just shift sides but claim to be principled in the things they believe, right? It's almost as if their job is to basically just be a corporate media establishment shield. And because, again, the establishment, Democrat and Republican, are basically on the same team, it's not hard to just switch between sides, right? It's not hard at all. Okay, as long as you are pro-establishment, then you're good. Okay, but the main point here is that these people like Nicole Wallace, the Joy Reids of the world, the Rachel Maddow's of the world, even though they claim to be objective news analysis, they're in fact some of the biggest spreaders of misinformation / disinformation in the media. That's just a fact. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.